I love risk. I love it so much. I love, like, I'm not reckless. Those little milestones, you're just like, yes. You know, and like coincidentally, my wife was 3 months pregnant with our first boy, Arthur. And I was like, sweetie, I'm going to quit my pretty cushy sales job. I'm going to quit that, and I'm going to start a business in the same industry and be a direct competitor.
You're sleeping with the head of finance at your company.
Yes, I am. I love it. I love it.
Tell me about this.
Welcome to the Sinclair podcast, where we share real-world experiences, wisdom, and the honest struggles of entrepreneurs to help you navigate and scale your business with confidence.
All right, Joel Antymniuk, welcome, brother. What a pleasure to have you on. You're the founder and owner and head honcho cheese of MOTIF Marketing. You and I go back to 2021, and I had to actually look up some emails, but at that point, you're kind of doing a little research on joining our software buying group. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I got time for this guy, sure. So we have a call, and I don't know, the first call, I go back in my world anyway. I'm like, this guy's cool. Like, I could talk to him again. We had an opportunity to have multiple conversations, and really quickly just built a friendship and turned into a business relationship. And just, again, honored to have you in my life. And I gotta say, you're one of the main reasons I got into this coaching business, and you helped me discover my passion for something that I had thought for years I was looking to get into maybe, but you kind of kicked my butt, and were one of the major reasons why I got into this. So thank you.
And that's sweet, man. That's awesome. Right on. Let's do this.
So the other thing which I found was really cool, and I mean, I think it's a sign of the times now, is that you and I haven't even met in person. And we know you now, like 2025 is a must. No more excuses. You know, your kids are a little older. Mine are,
I tried. I was on the way to the airport, and you called me saying you had COVID.
I had COVID. It sucks. So anyway, next year, we are doing it for sure. But I appreciate you coming on. I love to hear your story. And I think this is asked, very common with a lot of people in our industry and the branded merch promotional products world. How the heck did you get into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, it's such an unassuming, unknown industry, which is why that's such a great question. It's like, what is this? What exactly do you guys do? So I think back in 2011, I ended up getting hired on as a sales rep at a pretty traditional distributor in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, my hometown. But before that, I always had an interest and passion for design, whether it was clothing, fashion, and then naturally into graphic design. And kind of as I was teaching myself the entry-level graphic design, and I assure you, I'm not calling myself a graphic designer right now. I have a very talented team of those lovely people. Is I started unofficially kind of hustling as somewhat of a distributor, kind of. All the student groups I was a part of, all the sports teams, I would just start putting together apparel orders for them. I just kind of learned the suppliers, and I learned the supply chain, and I learned the decorating details and the lingo. And then I naturally decided I wanted to start a clothing company, which was hilariously called Bum Witta Board. And the Witta was very important.
Bum Witta Board.
Yeah, and it wasn't Witta, it was Witta. It was very edgy. Very edgy for the times.
That's awesome.
And so it was with my kind of like hustle of just being a part of these groups and wanting to create apparel and merch because it excited me and I was passionate about it. And then this clothing brand, and I had my cousin build an e-commerce site for me. It was fun. I was just kind of naturally going down this path. And I think I just love that part of life. It's like, I don't know, it just kind of like takes you. And then one thing led to the next. My uncle's best friend was the owner of this distributor who's been around since the 80s, hired me, gave me a classic handshake of, hey, I'd love to hire you, and you will be a part of my succession plan. And I said, hell yeah.
Okay.
Now, that obviously didn't work out that way, and that is totally okay. But when they hired me, I was already falling in love with the product and the process and the ability to create these tangible things. And because I was hired under this kind of, old school handshake understanding of, you're going to help take over this business one day, I immediately just fell in love with business and just understanding their business and the industry and just every role along the workflow of how it was all put together. So yes, I was lucky enough to be born with the personality of a sales rep, much like you, my friend Chris, and the ability to connect with people and be passionate about what you're talking about. But I was infatuated with like how all these things connected and how you could be different amongst other people and how this role affects this role. And unfortunately, I could see that promise wasn't going to happen. And I was fueled to the brim to be an owner and to make a difference in this industry. And I was like, you know what? if these guys can do it this way, I know I can do it. I know I can do it my way.
I think a lot of people say that about me too. Hopefully I motivate them.
Yeah, if Chris can do it, I can do it. Yeah,
sure. That's right.
No, but it was also, I just saw the industry as far as timing goes, right? And timing, luck is really just timing and awareness and planning kind of all bundled together. And that's what was happening. I think this industry was naturally going through this transition. It was from what I could see, again, from our little area in Saskatchewan, right? And that's what I'm kind of talking about is it was dated. It was kind of stale. It was working. And I think that was part of it. It was like, it's still working, right? Even though not much is changing, everything's fine the way it is. But what if a fresh approach was taken? Like, wouldn't that be exciting? Wouldn't that work? And nobody was really doing it. Nobody was really taking that creative agency, breath of fresh air approach. Like, let's actually elevate this merch and these tangible products that we produce, instead of just being order takers and like, hey, I need like a bunch of polos. Here's my logo. It's like, yeah, for sure. That's good. We'll keep doing that. But what else? And that's when, coincidentally, my wife was 3 months pregnant with our first boy, Arthur. And I was like, sweetie, I'm going to quit my pretty cushy sales job, right? Not a lot of worry, just sell merch, right? Make the commission. I'm going to quit that, and I'm going to start a business in the same industry and be a direct competitor. And obviously,
to hear that.
Yeah, but she, we're married. She loves me. I love her. She knows who I am, and she's like, all right, I 100% support you. Just don't fuck this up. I was like, all right, sounds good. I got this.
Great words of wisdom right there. How old were you at that point?
Yeah, exactly. Very motivating. Pardon me?
How old were you at that point?
Oh man, 29, 30. MOTIF's just in its 8th year, and already my oldest boy is 8. So we kind of use him, you know what I mean? As the timeline.
Was there ever a point early on where you kind of went, probably didn't tell your wife, but you're like, I just don't know if this is going to work, or I'm maybe in over my head?
Man, that's so funny. I'm actually reflecting and working through all that again now is just embracing the unknown. And it's okay to have that unknown. And I've become aware of my behaviors and my patterns when I take that next big risk or make that next big decision. But back to that one, I think the best way to answer that is I've realized that just in the big buildup of making a big decision like that, it's like, I got it. I was born with a pretty high level of confidence, which I'm very fortunate to have. And I've learned that right before I have to make that decision is where I have the biggest wave of doubt or second guessing. Like, should I actually be doing this? But up to that point, I'm like, hell yeah, I got this. And I can vividly remember where we were, in what vehicle, parked at what red light in our city, where I was like, honey, do you really think I should do this? And she's like, Joel, you are highly employable. Worst case, it doesn't work. You at least tried it, which is more than most people can say. and then you find another good job. And I'm like, oh, that's the best. That's what I needed.
Yeah, it's cool when you break it down and simplify it like that. It's like, hey, like what's the worst that can happen? And I think a lot of people, there's little barriers to entry for this industry, which does make it attractive because there's not a ton of capital. It's popping up an office, sometimes doing it from home, which is very traditional, and it's always been that way. So I think it's great advice from your wife.
Yeah, it's obviously been essential having her in my corner this whole time. So
yeah, exactly. Talk about Sask and how that's helped you, especially as a small business starting out in a small community, and how maybe has also that hurt you as a business.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there's absolutely been far more pros than cons. I think at the end of my answer, I'll have to think pretty hard of the cons, which makes me pretty proud to say. Saskatchewan and Saskatoon, it's a fantastic place to own and operate a local business. It really is. And I think that has to do with like just being a part of Saskatoon from the beginning, right? Of just having those roots. And I'm excited to share this with my two boys as they grow up, is like, just make sure you're not a total jerk, right? Like just be a decent human. You know what I mean? Because don't be a douche, right? Like that's kind of the foundation. It'll really pay off. It's a tight community, and in business, it's a very tight community, and it's very supportive. And I knew from the get-go, one of our core differentiators would be focusing on that and focusing on building a business and a culture, again, both internal and external, that was the support local business model, right? And as we've evolved, I realized that doesn't have to be brick and mortar support local. That doesn't have to be proximity. That's just customer service, white glove approach, end-to-end experience. But to do it in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, I realize how silly that sounds, has been instrumental, right? You know all these people, you have a good backing. Again, the community is extremely strong, and there's a ton of business here. That was the other part of getting the courage to do it, is like, if all these other people can do it, and I disagree with a lot of their approaches and practices, yet they're highly successful, it's really helped me completely ignore competition. Like, I don't care what my competitors are doing. I think that's toxic. I think it's toxic hopping online and being like, well, what's their Instagram and what's this? Is it why? Like just focus on yourself, focus on get better. Nobody's gonna beat you at your game because it's your game. And so as long as you're constantly evolving and growing, like just leave them. It's all good.
Great advice.
I think maybe the con, now that we're starting to grow outside of, instead of that support local, as in we're in the same town and we're in the same province, I'm kind of whipping up our newest tagline is, owned and operated in the prairies, right? Because the prairies are essentially three pretty massive, important provinces where that really expands business for us. So,
yeah, it's a widespread territory. I like it.
Yeah. And it's all from like looking at the back of an iPhone and it's saying just designed in California, but made in China. It's like, oh, we can do that. We can say that.
Skip, yeah. We won't tell anyone your secrets, man. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned a couple things there that stood out for me. And I mean, one of the things that I just admire about you, and I'm sure your team does, I know they do, is that you make bold moves. And I can go down a list as you've just built out a huge warehouse. You recently renovated and moved to a huge new space and then closed it down to go quasi-remote.
Yeah.
You hired a big producer in the industry. You've created even, which I want you to talk about today, some pretty strict guidelines around communication around inner office and how your team communicates and when they communicate with each other. And like, talk to me about some of those moves that you've done and what sort of drives you to make some of those big, I would say bold and potentially sometimes risky.
Yeah, one in the same, I guess. I love risk. I love it so much. I love, like, I'm not reckless. It might seem at times, but
Yeah.
I'm constantly assessing and reflecting and making sure I'm the healthiest version of myself for the people around me. I love the ride, and I love the rush, and I love the journey. And as long as I'm confident, I made my lists, I made my pros and cons list, and I'm approaching these bold moves and these risks to the best of my ability, which again is my natural skill set, constantly learning, seeking outside advice, creating amazing support networks, which you are right up there. It's been amazing. Is like, yeah, like why wouldn't I? I'm on a big YOLO kick right now. And I get it. Like YOLO's not. Thank you. Well, like like YOLO's not. It's not cool. It's old. It's like no, but I'm recycling, and I know it's not cool anymore, which is why I'm used. Yeah, it's coming back.
Fire is the new term, by the way. Just in case you're listening now.
Okay, sorry. Fire. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what it is. Is why not? Right. Like, I believe we only get one shot at this. So. Why not go for it? Because worst case, it doesn't work, and you still have an amazing life. You still have amazing people, to support you. And I was born into a fortunate family, like not wealth, but just love and just average amount of income to support that. And
yeah,
that was a part I remember reflecting at the family cabin late at night by the fire. I'm like, man, if you don't try this, if you don't go for this, like when you're old and maybe on your deathbed or retired, and you're like, and you look back and you didn't at least try, I'm going to be so bummed out at myself.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right? Like, what's the point? So I don't know. I hope that was a good answer.
Yeah, it was great. A couple things that resonated. Like one, I think you make a great point. Is like, being raised in Canada is a massive privilege. Being raised in a family of love is a huge heads up. And like, it took me a long time to actually realize that how lucky I was to have that kind of a head start on.
Yes.
A lot of people just don't have it. Again, stuff you take for granted until later years, probably having kids for me. But the other thing you mentioned is, and outside of the work we've done, is you've got multiple mentors. You're a student of the game too, which I just think is such a wonderful quality for entrepreneurs and for really for anyone. Is you're constantly growing. Where do you get the motivation for that? And I guess the other part of that question would be have you always been that way, or did that change with getting a business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm sure if you asked my parents or my brothers or anybody that knows me best from the beginning I've always been a really passionate person. And I'm sure at a younger age, I'm sure that was pretty annoying for some people to manage, but like anything I've ever done, I've always just like, let's do this because, give it your best shot, just go for it. So I've always been very passionate. I've always believed in myself. And I think that passion, when you're like, I'm committing, I'm doing this, is that resonates and that transpires to other people. And I think that is probably one of my superpowers. I know that question is coming later, but like
you can't steal my question. Come on.
But like to really believe in what you're doing and to have that passion, I think is so powerful. And
absolutely.
Yeah. To be able to connect with people. And like I said, I call it the evolution of the Antymniuk and family name, right? It's like, I was born into this family, and a lot of people just like, they don't intentionally take it for granted. I know they don't, but they're not really doing anything. We could never do what our ancestors did to set ourselves up for success. Wow. And I'm definitely not doing anything compared to that at all. But I'm going to do my darndest to progress, for my kids. And I hope they see what I'm doing. And I hope they do the same, like, why not?
For sure. You got really strong family values, and it shows up not just how you parent and run, work within your household, but as a leader too. So really admirable qualities, man.
Thank you.
So you talked about design, and I think I just want to mention that too. Like, dude, you sent me a swag kit, and I've been in this business over 20 years now.
Yes.
I'm like, damn, like he's a one-up, dude. I always thought we had the best swag. You're still number two, but no, you invest a ton of money in that, but it really shows your design piece. how has that helped some of the marquee clients that you're working with and some of the ones you're going after? Because you guys are really going after some big, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies as a, I'll call it a mid-sized player in this industry. How does that help you?
Yeah. Well, our creative services, our creative approach to this industry has always been probably our biggest differentiator, and it continues to be. And it's just so exciting. It's so exciting to have an in-house design team with the same skill set as honestly any other full-on creative agency out there, and they're on our team and they're good people. And I love that part of MOTIF. And, that then just triggers off into our own branding. Our own branding has obviously been a big differentiator. And with that branding comes our merch. And I've kind of learned in business and with MOTIF is like what you work on and what you build and finesse internally for the team, it also very much applies externally to the client. It's that same connection. It's the same systems that you build that benefits internally as externally, right? And so in regards to merch, the merch is for us. It makes us feel cool and fun, and it's just another creative outlet. And I don't know, my bookkeeper's saying I got to get better at spending the amount of money I spend on it, but I just don't care, Chris. This is why I'm doing it. I want to spend whatever it takes to create. Not everything has to make sense. I can't stand it. Well, does it make sense?
It's your company, so you can do what you want. But no, I that really resonates. I mean, you probably see it a ton. Like the amount of companies in this space that don't brand themselves and show themselves well is. I think that's it. We've always seen that as the opportunity, and I know you do the same. But I agree. It's taking pride in what you do, and we work in a world of blank canvases where it's easy to slap something. Logo slap and keep it simple, but that's where things come alive. So I know that design team is doing killer stuff for you guys, and not just what got you to where you are, but where you guys are going.
It's key, man. And to your point, that's one big thing I learned when I was working at the previous distributor is, so we're trying to prospect business. We're managing existing accounts for small, medium, and large clients. For them to spend a substantial amount of money on their own branding. And this stuff's very important. Why aren't the actual distributors emphasizing and developing their own brands? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. They didn't have merch. They had terrible logos. And they, as in most people around me, most other distributors. What kind of trust are you instilling in these clients? Like, come with us, trust us. It's like, why? Just because you've been doing it for 40 years and that's basically the only reason people have needed. And so with the merch, it's our creative outlet. We want to wear it proudly, design it like retail. And then it reflects on the clients, and the clients are like, damn, like they know what they're doing. Look at their own stuff. We want them to do for us what they're doing for themselves. And it's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. Sorry, man. Keep it up.
Okay,
I've known this for a while, but let's get it out on the table. You're sleeping with the head of finance at your company.
Yes, I am. I love it.
Tell me about this.
Well, Chris, that also happens to be my lovely wife.
Okay, terrible joke. Tell me about the experience in working with a partner, and how do you separate work from home if you're able to do so? Because obviously life happens, and if things are tough at home, it can come to work and vice versa. How do you guys separate that, and how do you guys communicate through it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's awesome sleeping with the head of finance. Highly suggest it. It's a blast. It's a blast. I think first of all is understanding and being okay that life is work and work is life. And that doesn't mean like, oh, he's a workaholic, all he does is work. It's one and the same. And that's the beautiful part of being an entrepreneur. And that was another one of those big decisions I had to make when I was reflecting before doing all this is like, what do I want work to be in my life? Do I want that steady Eddie job where I can literally leave it at the door when I leave, whether it's, teaching, maybe it's a union job or whatever. So I can be done with it. Or do I want it to be one and the same? And it's like, man, look back at like I went as far back as the hunter-gatherers. I was like, look at them. Look at the farmers. Like, it was all the same. It had to be the same, you know?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it has to be. And then for me, I was like, okay, well, I'm passionate. I'm gonna dive so deep into whatever I choose to do. And that was huge for me, is just to realize that, like, I want work and life to be the same thing, because I don't want to have to leave it at work. You know, I want to bring it home with me because I love it. So I think the fact is, like, work is life, life is work. And then with Laura and I particularly is, up until recently, we've always had a fantastic brick and mortar location that has always been this beautiful place to go and work for our team. And it's been great for attraction and retention of team members, right? You just have this cool, sweet studio boutique style storefront, and it's been awesome.
You guys did a killer job on both spaces you had.
Thank you. That means a lot. I feel like it's a great way to show the world your identity, right? And who you are, from the clothes you wear, right, to the place that you work. I think it's all important. Laura, we would never, I think one thing that's really helped is we would never be in the same actual location working. You know what I mean? Like, I think that helped. I think she would be at the office or the storefront, we would call, and I'd be at home. I would always protect my quiet work, as I call it now. I would protect my alone time to focus and work on what I needed to work on. And Laura, head of finance, and the rest of the team would be at the storefront working. So I think the physical location has really helped. And our personalities just jive, man. I think, that's why we're married. we get along. Yeah. We're a good team. We're very, our marriage, our relationship, I know not all of them are like this. Like, we're very yin yang, like very, very. She's the opposite of me, and that very much works for us. So
yeah, for sure. I think that works for most, right? I've always said, no one wants two of me, and probably not two of me either.
Yeah, totally. You need that.
Talk about quiet work and how you instilled that in your team. What does that mean?
Quiet work is a new term. Any of these terms or quotes, like, I highly doubt I came up with them. I feel like quiet work I might have.
Okay, for the purpose of this conversation, I'm just going to assume you did.
Okay,
perfect. Actually,
the term quiet work came up. So I've been obsessing over deep work, which I believe deep work was first, put into place by Cal Newport, who I've obsessively been learning from. He wrote the book called Deep Work, and it's just all about turning off the noise. Like, boy, oh boy, is the world and the workforce a very noisy place. Like, we've designed so many notifications, so many things that sidetrack you and take your attention away, that, like, what are we actually doing at the end of the day? And so deep work is turning off all notifications. It's doing whatever you need to do to transition into that one gear, writing up quotes, prospecting, design, cleaning up the month end, depending on your role and responsibility, and just doing that. That is, without a doubt, the healthiest, most productive approach to the workday. But it's really, really hard to do. And so those are the things I'm constantly learning about, evolving, and trying to implement and coach my team on, because, healthier, happier, rested, focused brains are better brains. They're better brains. Keeping people busy for 8 to 10 hours a day is not the best brain, right? Like, I think if I can do truly deep work for a day, I can get more done in 4 hours than a busy 8 hours. And I can feel way better about myself and also be a better dad and a better husband at the end of it.
Yeah. And I think, you're starting to see a lot more, writing and material coming out on this. And I think we're just at the early stages of, like, where this actually is going to go and how unproductive just humans can be. And it's like a social experiment. I had to renew my passport this morning, and of course I want to be in line. I'm like, I'm in line. I should go on my phone. But, I stopped for a couple minutes and just put my head up. And I did this for I also love people watching, but it's incredible. Like, the amount of just everyone is on their phone because they have a moment. It's distractions. It's no one's having a conversation. Not that maybe that's the setting, but you see it out for dinner. You see it at home. Sometimes my wife and I would catch ourselves just in bed on our phones. It's like, oh yeah, we're married. Maybe we should have a conversation, but it's just harder when you have a busy day or a busy family and you get a few minutes. You want to keep up with texts, emails, and sometimes just veg out. But I think there's a lot of things that we can learn there. And I think you've done an incredible job at setting the bar for your company. I wanted to find out, like, where do you get the resistance from your team? Because no doubt there's people going like, don't you tell me how to put my notifications on or how to run my day. I'm efficient, Joel.
Well,
what do you know?
And notifications is one thing. Chris, it's so insane to me. Like, you'll see someone, employee, team member, or just someone at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
They'll be working. They're in their email. They'll see the email come in. They'll get a desktop email notification that the email came in. They'll get it on their stupid, iWatch or whatever, their Apple Watch. They'll get it on their phone and like, oh my God. So deep work is also involved with time blocking, like schedule times for notifications to come in. Schedule times to be on your phone in bed, with your wife, if that's what that time is meant for. Yeah. But yeah, man, these notifications with my team, sorry, to kind of go off on that tangent, is I get pushback, but I expect pushback. Like, I learned that like any new idea, any new policy, any new adjustment to workflow, whatever it ends up being, is like, I don't do them just randomly and sporadically just because I randomly go on self-destruct mode, even though I do know that can be and you and I have talked about that. That is a condition of being an entrepreneur. We have to watch out for that.
Yeah.
Because we think we're so awesome, right? We can do anything we want. Yeah. Is understanding that like I've done a lot of work. I've spent either weeks or months, learning about it, understanding it, picking and choosing what parts of this new rule, policy, or best practice that I want to implement. And then what I need to make sure is that my team understands that I'm not just trying to change something to make their life more difficult, right? That I'm doing it because I care and that I've done my homework. And now I very much feel it's the right idea. But awesome. Humans are humans, and I think it's okay. I think it's okay that like oftentimes only 30% of it sticks. It's like, all right, that's change. We'll try again next time. You got
to surrender to that. I think we've talked about this before. It's like no matter what you're coming in with, no one's going to be as excited as you are, and
I know.
I know. Like, oh man, I thought that was going to land better. I love that. That's such a great idea.
That's exactly it. And just being okay with that, right, Chris? Like we talked about, it's just like, like nobody has this, right? And that's okay. But my team's awesome, man. Honestly, I couldn't ask for better people. So
that's cool. The two things, it makes you so easy to work with, and our relationship is one thing I say all the time. You're probably sick of, but go with your gut. What's your gut say, right? And now you're actually coming to me and be like, hey, here's the problem. Here's what I've come up with, and my gut says this, so I've gone ahead with it. And I'm like, cool. You don't need me anymore. But I believe that and you especially, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, it's intuition. You've got to go on those sort of spidey senses and feelings, and generally we know, but the work that, as you explained how you got to even that policy, it's like it's doing the background checks, it's doing the research, talking to a couple people, and then finding a way to your answer. But that's it's been really cool to watch you make some of these big moves. Again, we're talking about bold moves for you, and execute really, really well. And I think the one thing too that I'm always making sure that you do, and you do well, it's not me, but just telling the team why. It doesn't matter what you're doing, is the importance of saying, hey, this is what we're doing, but here's why, right? Because I think that's what most people care about. Like, why, Joel? Tell me why I got to do this.
Well, and you do tell me it all the time. And so you'd think that would be top of my mind, but it isn't. And so every time you tell me, I'm like, yeah. Because it's so true. And I think, Chris, it's also important that I've really embraced more and more is like, things are better built as a team, and all this connects to why, right? Like, have them understand why by doing it with you, right? Like, hey guys, I'm not saying I know everything about this, but I do know enough about it that I have a pretty good feeling that at least some of it is going to bring value to us. So let's do it and poke holes in it. Let's review it weekly. Let's talk through this.
Awesome.
And a few weeks ago, I sent a random email to my team. I think the subject line was like Joel's brain hot topic. And it's because I'm reading this. That's the best I could come up with. I'm reading this fantastic book called Principles by Ray Dalio.
Oh,
and
so good.
I'm looking at this
table over there,
dude. Yeah, exactly. It's got this beautiful growth trajectory pattern that he's like, and I think he's probably like top 100 most influential people ever. And I know that sounds crazy. Don't fact check me, but like I'm pretty sure that's how awesome this guy is.
I'm gonna show this because I've got it up here.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that growth loop. Exactly. And so tie together a bunch of those. And that's how his company has grown. And that's what he says. He says that is the most efficient and healthiest way to grow as a team is you formulate a strategy and a plan and you be completely okay with the fact that you're not going to know everything, but you are very confident in your and your team's ability to adjust and reformulate as long as you're progressing upward, like an upward spiral. So you take off with this plan, something inevitably goes wrong, but you knew something was going to go wrong because how the heck are you supposed to know everything? And then you look at it, you reflect, you reformulate, recalibrate, strategize, and then boom, take off. And no matter what went wrong there with that downward spiral, you're still better.
Yeah.
And then you're still better. Yeah. And I think that was important for me to communicate with my team is like, you guys, listen, it's okay if everything isn't a entire home run every time. Like, that's not even what we're doing here, right? Like, let's do it together. Let's just keep progressing.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Do great work.
Thank you.
What's been the most challenging thing for you as an entrepreneur sort of over the last 8 years? Is there one thing that sticks out for you?
Holy, that's a banger. Yeah. Geez. I think, I can answer that. I think it has to do, and you've helped me with a lot of things, but the timing of when you and I crossed paths was, I think, like imposter syndrome, which is connected to like now it's just in this last year. Like I literally got a tattoo for it. It just meant so much to me to finally be comfortable in my own skin. Right. Because like, I don't know, I get really like worked up about this. It takes a lot of fucking courage, man. And it takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of like doing things that other people say won't work or don't do. And like, man, it is amazing of you to keep saying like, follow your gut and trust your instinct. Cause that's really like, that is what has to happen, but that is hard to do. You know what I mean? That is so hard to do. And so
self-doubt creeps in.
Oh man, there's so many reasons to doubt yourself as a human. Right. And, I think imposter syndrome and the whole just being like, man, like some of this, you just have to fake it till you make it. And then once you make it, you engage the next chapter of faking it till you make it. And what I mean by that is just, you're not going to know everything and that's okay. But I love so much the entrepreneur like lifestyle and journey. Like I can't wait to share this with my kids, and I'm not going to force it on them because that's not my style, but I'm definitely going to make sure they understand that it's probably one of the best approaches to this life.
So at least show them, hey, this is an option, and then here's some of the bad, but also a ton of the great that can come with an opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, it's just so fulfilling. But like you and I have communicated when I'm at my high, and we've communicated when I'm at my low, and both are very extreme, and yeah, it's hard. It's a lot of weight. But that's the flip side, is it's so rewarding when you can keep doing it. So yeah,
I love that. I love what you said earlier too. You talked about risk, and it's funny because friend of mine yesterday was saying the same thing. He just got himself a crazy supercar and he's done really, really well, and good for him. But someone asked him what, pulled up, and they're like, "Hey man, what do you do for a living?" And he I think off the cuff is like, I'm in risk management or something like that. And I just think that's so true. It's, when you mention risk, is like that is what, doing your own thing is about, whether that's taking the courage to make that decision that you don't know fully if it's going to work, but you have to lead your team, and you got to take them into everything confident to say, this is what we're doing, right or wrong. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to move fast, and we're going to be confident that this is the way. Yeah.
So true, man. That's on you, right? That's on you. And I think it's important, the more you can share that. And that's what I've learned, is to embrace that, is like, share that with the team, empower them.
Yeah.
Make this theirs too. How about you? Dan Martell, game-changing book. Wow. So shout out to him.
Your time. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I just have all these he even Spark notes his own book at the end of every chapter. It's unreal. Is, one thing that's resonated with me very well is you build the people, and the people build your business. And I think part of building them is bringing them in on the challenges and the successes, and sharing the journey. I think it's super important.
Yeah. And it makes you real. That's a vulnerable piece that people, I think, want to follow that versus the opposite all day long.
Yeah.
But the piece all I'm not just here to pump your tires, but I think a lot of people go out and get material. They read, 50 books a year. And I've been guilty of this myself, but you get something, you'll dive into a few things, and you'll dive deep, and you take a book like that of Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and you put that into play. And I think that's where I call you a student of the game, as far as you don't take it lightly. And when you find something that resonates, you really go all in. And I think, your company and your team benefit from that, and your clients too. So great work.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Okay, let's go back 8 years. What advice do you give Joel, who's 29 at this point? What are you going to tell that guy?
Oh man, I kind of knew you were going to ask this, and I didn't even formulate an answer yet. Take care of yourself. Not that I didn't, but there's certain parts of it that I wasn't, right? Because you think what you're using to cope with the stress and the pressure of making something work that you literally created. Yeah. You think it's helping, but it's not. And I think that just comes with time and wisdom. It's, the old hindsight, and I wish I knew what I know now when I was younger, right? So I know this is a trick question, Chris, because you can't actually tell your younger self what to do. No. But just take care of yourself, and the healthier you is a better you for everybody. And like so much, I would tell them so much. I would share everything I know.
Take them on a fishing trip. We're going to have for a while.
Exactly, man. Yeah. But I think to what you just said of actually embracing and having an open mind and being a life learner, and just diving into what you're learning, I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is not being able to know what I know now back then, right? That's the journey, because it's those little milestones. You're just yes, and to not have that journey, the journey is everything, right? That's what it is. That's the dopamine. That's life. It's, what is it? Will Smith movie, Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
What I came up with is pursuit is happiness.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's all about the journey. And knowing you as well as I do, you live that. And I think you're an incredible example of that. And again, it shows up in how you lead your team, how you lead your family. And it's been really cool to watch.
Thanks.
Tell me what you're most excited about going into, call it, over the next 12 months. What are some things you're working on with you and the team that you're really pumped up about?
Yeah. I'm really pumped up about our most recent change and what that's going to do. Obviously it was partnering and onboarding just a heavy hitter in our industry, and obviously bringing his experience and knowledge. We come from a very like account management, retention. We really haven't picked up more than a dozen phones to prospect. Honestly, like in the last 7 years, we just started prospecting, and you're aware of this. You coached me through all of it and understanding it. And part of that is like, that's shifting your culture, right? From that like account management, let's focus on us. Let's make ourselves as attractive as possible for when people need what we sell, and then let's retain them. To, we didn't even really use the word sales up until, it's like an icky word for some of these younger generations.
Yeah, for sure. I get that.
So I'm really excited about that shift and just, calling it what it is. It's like, yeah, we're in sales. We love sales. We're really good at sales. And part of selling is managing accounts and connecting with people. But what I'm really excited about is we closed down this beautiful storefront that we created downtown Saskatoon. I feel a little crazy for it because we only used it for like just over a year.
Yeah, you mean the one you just got and renovated? No.
Yes, Chris, that one. But again, you can only know so much. So there's no regrets. It was amazing. It was a representation of our growth, and my team was stoked on it. But closing that down, consolidating operations into this big, beautiful warehouse in the industrial area, kind of, having a large warehouse in the back with a small 900 square feet of kind of like a collaboration showroom area just for people to pop in for you, to have my sales and creative and finance team working from home as much as they want, allowing them to have that freedom is really cool, really risky. I still feel a little vulnerable for it, but I'm trying to embrace that. And that's creating that deep work. Like, leave them at home. What do I want them to do? I want them to do their core responsibilities. So let's do that. Let's set up an automated flow for our phone system, for our RFQs. Let's let people do what they do best. And honestly, man, just kick some major ass in this next 12 months. Like, that's what I'm most excited about. Yeah.
Well, you're doing it. So congrats, brother. I appreciate that.
Word. Thank you.
All right. Listen, this is new. We're doing some rapid fire. I got 9 questions.
All right.
This is, Chris at 5:15 this morning with ChatGPT. So real quick, you ready? Okay, go. Socks versus sandals. Or sorry, socks with sandals.
No.
Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Do aliens exist?
Probably. No, yes, they do.
Yeah. You want to make sure you're not getting probed. Do you believe in love at first sight?
Yes.
Do you pee sitting down in the middle of the night ever?
I pee sitting down 95% of the time, and I'm not embarrassed about it.
Love it. Would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Too hot.
Country to visit before you die?
Don't know.
Motif tattoo. Do you have one? And if not, are you getting one?
I got one. It says sicky tight, and it has both a thumbs up and a hang loose. It's like a very sicky tight, cool, sick, bro. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Last question. Is AI going to end this world?
Is a guy going to end this world?
No, AI. Artificial intelligence. Maybe it's a guy, but...
It's going to do something, man. I don't know, for better or for worse.
That's awesome. Well, we'll see if all that gets edited out or not, but I appreciate it. Great answer.
That was awesome.
Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship, our relationship. More importantly, I appreciate your time that you gave today. You're a trailblazer in this industry. I think I know a lot of people look up to what you guys are doing and what you're going to do. Your team's lucky to have you. You're an incredible dad, husband. So happy to have you in my life. Honored.
Man, thank you so much. You're amazing, dude. I love having you in my life. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk soon.